count. All the children on the line. Everything's alright.
Yo, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor. Now, just quickly before we rip into this episode, if you dig this podcast, please leave a 5-star review in your app or wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe and click the notification bells because there's heaps coming up and you really don't want to miss a thing. Leave a one-off tip if you dig. All links in the show notes or at thegiglifepodcast.com. My guest today is Nicky Bomba. Nicky is a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, producer, audio engineer, band leader, and he's been a blazing creative spark in the Australian music scene for decades. Drummer in the John Butler Trio on the classic albums Sunrise Over Sea, April Uprising and Flesh Blood, the driving force behind the Melbourne Ska Orchestra, Bomba and Bustmento. He wears many hats and he has a new album out called Food and Shelter, which for me personally helped me get through a bit of a dark cloud at the end of 2021. So it was really great to sit down and chat with him. This is episode 130 and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Mr. Nicky Bomba. All right, I think we're rolling. I got Nicky Bomba with me tonight. How you going, man? Nicky Bomba.
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You're currently living in the hills in Victoria somewhere?
Yep, and just at the foot of where all the snow mountains are, the Alpine region of Victoria.
Okay, how long have you been there?
About since 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, but for the first couple of years, I was on the road with John Butler, so I was hardly home. So,
okay,
really, over the last 2 years, where I've spent more than 10 days at a stretch, and since COVID hit, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which has been kind of fantastic in many ways because I've got to do stuff that I've been meaning to do at home for so long.
Yeah,
so,
and you got to do an album and a book and all sorts
exactly,
of stuff.
Yeah,
so we'll talk about that stuff. A little bit later. So you're just talking to me before we hit record about I said, what are you up to? And it's that you're juggling gigs and cancellations and bookings and, just as things were starting to kind of come good again, it's all that sort of juggling. And you said, you adapt to it, there's always something else to do. And it just made me think about there's probably people in situations that don't have something else,
Yeah, I mean, it's a mindset, and I think I've been lucky that pretty early on in the piece that I understood that change is the only constant. And so in anything, in relationships, in, plans and work and in journeys and adventures. So I've kind of learned to kind of just dodge and weave, kind of and kind of make it work. Just find a new path. Otherwise, it's very easy just to fester or just to kind of stay in this kind of limbo of mild depression, really. So creativity is big for me. And I usually step into some kind of other creative world.
So you speaking from experience there in the whole sort of, mild depression type thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a song I got called one of my first albums called Jar in the Moment, and just my tattoo was Jar in Every Moment. And that really came from just realizing there was a bit of a grey cloud kind of, and the victim mentality that I recognised about myself. And that stuff kind of is a vicious circle type of things that it spirals, and the more you kind of feed it, like, feeding the barking dog. The more you feed it, the more it's the bark's going to get louder.
Yeah.
So at some point, you just have to find out what it is that is driving that, is informing all that, and it's it took a lot of writing, like a lot of I have
journal type stuff.
Yeah,
yep.
Lots,
yep.
books
yep.
worth, and sometimes just saying the same thing over and over, and then at some point you you see a pattern developing, and it's good to read over what you've written too. That's just very important. And then I think studying all the great the gurus and getting into a bit of Eastern philosophies and everything, and that simplicity, and there's life, and the modern life is quite complicated. It's quite inundated with a massive amounts of communication and information on a daily basis, and there's a point where you kind of have to step back a little bit and observe life as opposed to kind of getting stuck in it, and that's one of the main things, and then you can see the change. You go, well, that's that. Things have happened before, and I've got over them, and it's okay. Sometimes looking this way is beneficial. It makes me, there's the classic story of good luck, bad luck. They say, the father whose son was playing soccer, and he was going to go join the team, and he broke his leg, and he couldn't play. But a week before they went to go, conscription came in, and so they got all the able-bodied men to go to war, and because he broke his leg, he didn't have to go to war. So that basic philosophy happens on an everyday basis. So it's just about perception, really.
Yeah. Is that part of the reason why you moved out to the hills as well, to get a little bit of simplicity and sorry, go. Yeah, go for it. I was going to say, so were you in Melbourne, like in Melbourne City, and
I was born overseas, but grew up in Newport, which was in Melbourne. But it was great fun childhood, playing music all the time, and soccer, and friends and everything. And but then when I was 8 years old, I had got this kind of a family that kind of adopted me, in many ways, because he was the guitarist of the band that I was in when I was 6 years old. I loved their culture. It was the Austrian culture, and I'm Maltese. And I used to go holidaying with them all the time, and they used to go to the hills here where I live. And I remember being 8 years old and just thinking, fresh water, wow, I can swim without salt water and no fear of sharks. I can actually drink the water. There's trees everywhere, and it smells fresh. It's like, wow. And at that age, I remember saying to Mum, I just want to go there. I want to go back there. It was, so my holidays were here most of the time. So my folks would go to the beach and everything, and I would come with this other family up here. And then when I got my car and had my children, we just kept coming up here, and then made friends with some people around here. And at some point, the guy, one of my best friends who built this amazing house that I'm in now, it was his first house he ever built. I ever said, if you ever sell it, just let me know, because that would be a bit of a dream, and he did offer to me, and I did buy it. So moving to the country, for sure, 100%, a whole new level of perspective and perception of life. And when you're that nestled in nature and you wake up every morning, like at the moment, I swim twice a day. It's important for me to get nature's goodness and into me. Whether it's just walks or stretching or just being. I find I'm more active and kind of more disciplined, kind of a bit more alive. I have a little bit of trouble going to the city. I mean, my mum is still there, and my gigs are there a lot of the time. I have to, fly out of Melbourne or something. And I struggle a bit to be honest, with this thing. But again, I just have to kind of go, okay, well, it's only temporary, and just get involved in something else, whatever. You have to be aware, and I think that's the big thing with me: be aware of the chatter that happens. The subconscious chatter.
Yep.
In everything you do, really. And just aware that you might be telling yourself that you're not enjoying it, and you might be feeling, but make an observation of that and switch it.
Yep. I'm from a small town in New Zealand. So
okay, whereabouts?
A town's called Masterton, and that's in the Wairarapa, which is about
north.
It's the bottom of the North Island. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Up from Wellington.
I love Taranaki.
Oh, Taranaki's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my. And I used to have a girlfriend that lived in Wellington.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
So I spent a bit of time there. It was lovely.
So my little town, like when you started talking about the rivers, it was like that for us when it wasn't too cold. It was bloody cold there, but
oh yeah, yeah.
When we could swim, but there was the rivers. Once we started driving, we were going on bush. We're driving out to bush tracks and birds and fishing, and
totally.
Such a simple life. And then moving here to Sydney, and I was just talking to someone about this yesterday. Just the culture shock and the, and then you kind of I've adapted. I adapt to it, but a few years ago, my mum and dad moved up to Stroud, which is up towards Gloucester, and it's very, very much like our old town. So when I go and visit them, when I'm able to, it's kind of like, well, because what I used to do was go back to New Zealand a lot and back to my hometown and sort of get rerouted, regrounded.
Yeah, totally.
But now I just need to go up there.
Okay.
Small. They've got rivers and the hills. It just looks and feels like. It's
like when you were growing up. Yeah,
exactly. So it's kind of your thing in the reverse.
Totally. I mean, I'm trying to really work out a way of minimising performances at the moment, and working out a way of making a living by spending more time here.
Yep.
And that's and a lot of those changes are about what you actually need on a weekly basis to survive. So you work out and again, living simply.
Yep.
And getting the balance right, the balance of, nature time, creative time, good food, making sure you sleep well, conversations, keeping the mind active, definitely, and like on a daily basis, physical stuff on a daily basis. We just got a bike path put from my house, and I'm in between two towns. And it goes from one town to another town. So, and it goes all to all these rivers and everything. So my access to the river now is only half the time, and getting out on the bike. So I feel that's when it makes me feel vital.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't feel that vital when I'm in town.
That's cool. And just looking at all your gear in the background there, and, you've got these nice compressors and preamps and stuff for your desk, and I can see some percussion and SPX there, and
Well, I'm getting into that as far as because I'm trying to work out a solo live show.
Yeah,
so
right.
I don't have to take that many people on the road, which means that I can do more performances.
Gotcha. But what it's when you're talking about learning how to live a little bit simply, you got to make sure you got all the gear you need, eh? Before you make that decision, I just need that one more mic pre. Or
it's fine. It's funny that you say that. But I think the only thing that I really invest in is my music.
Yeah.
And so I do have to watch that. That's a very real thing where it's like, God, once I get the Neve console, once I get that compressor, I'll be able, and what I learned on the last album is that you can do stuff on GarageBand and it can sound fantastic.
Yeah, man. For
sure. So I've got the best of both worlds here. If I wanted to record a fully fledged band like the orchestra, I can in here.
Oh, that's cool.
An old analog, type studio with 8 tracks and everything. But there's also straight up, GarageBand and Ableton and all that type of thing. So I'm learning that world at the moment. I'm just trying to work out, live loops and stuff, and it's fun.
See,
I much prefer working with people though, like having three or four people on stage.
This is where it can get expensive, because then you start getting into buying the Stephen Slate stuff and get the subscription, and it's just the next tier up, and it's another $10 a month. I should be.
I don't do any subscriptions.
Don't you? Okay.
Like when I had to get Pro Tools, for example, I had a system that's been working really well for 10 years. Haven't had to touch it. Doesn't touch the internet, and I just wanted to have another computer in town that I wanted to do some other work, or with my mastering engineer, and I wasn't able to. I had to subscribe and everything, so I just spent $300 and bought a Mac Mini and just used the same program and just stay in that world.
Yep.
And so that was a real, frugal way of kind of making that happen.
That's cool.
And because it is really easy for the updates and that type of thing. But I've done it once or twice, and it was such a headache that it's better for me not to.
Yeah. I recently upgraded my my MacBook. I had a 2015 MacBook Pro, and I upgraded to the new M1, Apple M1.
Oh, you make a new computer?
Yeah, new laptop.
Oh, that's cool. That's
but see, the problem, the thing that I didn't know at the time is that there was an issue trying to get the Waves plugins and Universal plugin, the UAD stuff, to work with this new M1 chip. So I have to run Logic on this thing called Rosetta, which is a different sort of program. And then it's asking me, especially the Wave stuff, I've got to get this next tier of subscription to get the update to run the M1. And it's like, oh, no way. If I'd known, I wouldn't have. But I've got it sorted now, where I've got I've got the plugins that I need. And
if you don't mind putting that time in, that's true. Like, and new technologies, it's the technology nowadays. I mean, in a mobile phone, you've got, what a songwriting tool. You've got the recorder, you've got lyrics, you can actually record on their 8-track if you want to. You can edit, you can cut and paste and splice, and you can totally do all that. There is benefits 100% of that, but it's also, from a songwriter's perspective, what's important is constant creation and quick kind of getting stuff done kind of fairly quickly. If you find, I did that. I went into that world of getting bogged down in the technicality of it, and then I had to and wondering why I was kind of getting a bit frustrated, and realize what I need to do is to be disciplined. And as a songwriter, you need to be disciplined as far as like creative time, just in front of a voice memo, playing the guitar, or just creating something, just getting seeds of ideas. Yep. And then, okay, cool. It's kind of, once you've done that, I kind of go, okay, you've done the work. Now, if you want to go and play, go and play. But it's important that happens first for me, because I get frustrated.
That's cool. That answers a question I was going to ask you a little bit later about how much time you spend on that technology, or just creating sounds.
Yeah,
especially with sort of modern technology, because you can do so much with a plugin.
Totally. Totally. Well, I like with the new album, for example, half of it was done old school way, and the other half was done totally on GarageBand. And so it's not so much. I'll tweak things. For me, I trust my ears, and I go close my eyes and I'm going, am I happy with that? Okay, that's answer one. Let's try. I like to have, there's more than one right answer. I like to have a couple of different options. So let's explore something and see if we can get anything better than that. And if it's not, then back to that, or sometimes, cool. Okay, that's interesting. Then try something. Then it might be just a combination of, like, only in the verse I might use that sound or something, So, but I try to do that quite quickly. I try not to.
That's good.
It's really easy to get bogged down, and you open up the plugin list, and it's like, like, okay, I'm just going to use the Technotronics Legacy, and I try to kind of keep it that simple. And there are go-to ones, like you said yourself, So I try to, because I have have disappeared down that rabbit hole many times.
Yeah.
But now I know when to kind of go, up, okay.
Because what I've guilty of doing sometimes is like you just talked about the drop down list of presets in a plugin or whatever. So I'll like find the preset and go, that sounds cool. Now how did they come up with that? And then I just take myself into working how they came out. And next thing you know, the seed of musical idea is gone. You know.
Exactly. Yeah,
but then I don't get too down about that. I'm like, okay, well I've just scratched another itch here, and I know how to pull that sound, you know. But
that's a producer cap. That's the producer as opposed to the songwriter, and that's a big dilemma too for people that do their own music.
Yep.
You know, you kind of have to be your own teacher. You kind of have to look yourself and go, that's enough. Slap, move on.
I know, right?
You know, and I'm kind of good at doing that. You know.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. That's cool. All right, man. Let's roll right back to early days. Now you're Maltese. You were born in Malta, but you came out here when you were very, very young.
Yeah, 2 years old. Yeah.
Yep. So at 2 years old, do you have any recollection of Malta at all as a 2-year-old?
And no, but my I was very lucky that the Maltese community, especially in Newport, or in a whole posse of people came. So,
right, okay.
So every Sunday was Maltese Community Day. We were, from 6 years old, we were like the family. We were the Partridge Family or the Jackson 5 of the Maltese community. So Every time a performer came over, we would be the band. We recorded a #1 hit. We recorded a song in Australia that became a #1 hit in Malta when I was 14.
Cool.
So it was, the Maltese community was very active, right? And I understand Maltese very well.
Yep.
Find it hard to speak it a little bit, but when I'm at home with Mum, she speaks to me in Maltese, you know. So, and I encourage her to do that. And it's to the point now that my son, who was born in Australia, there was so much of the Maltese influence that he's now living in Malta and he's opened up a restaurant there.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's gone kind of fully back.
Yeah.
And he's just come out. He just came out here for a couple of weeks. And he's got the family name tattooed on his back. He's got the Maltese flag on his back.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an indication that the spirit of and the culture was very much alive even when we were Australia.
Yeah,
you know, cool. because it is that connection. You know, you need that sense of belonging to something. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, and so there was always a lot of that. That was a big thing, and that really informed the music as well, because it provided a landscape for us to be playing. You know, for the Maltese weddings and dances and engagements and balls and everything. You know, it was pretty. They liked to party.
Yeah. So you're so when your mum and dad. Do you have siblings?
I have one brother, Michael, who I play with, and 4 sisters.
Okay, and did you all came together?
4 came. I was the last one.
Okay,
born in Malta, and then 2 were born in Australia.
Okay, right. So in your direct family, is it musical? Mum and dad musical?
Look, Mum was my grandfather on my mother's side.
Yep.
Was Malta's most famous magician.
Oh, wow.
And she used to be his assistant.
Oh, cool.
So she was used to the stage.
Did she get cut in half? That kind
all
of
that stuff. Exactly. Very classic stuff. Mind games. Yeah,
that's so cool.
My father loved music and used to perform in plays in Gilbert and Sullivan and that type of thing. And so when he was in college. But he always loved playing the guitar, and he passed away actually in 2020. And I've just found some tapes of him when he was about to come to Australia, and he was singing some songs, and it was a beautiful spirit. He played the harmonica a little bit, and when we used to perform, he was kind of our manager. Yep. You know, he used to drive us around. You know, he built the van that we put all the stuff in, which looked like a horse float. And he would sing Maltese songs too at the Maltese events. So there'd be always a half an hour set of him doing these songs, and I recorded those songs with him before he passed too, which was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's all on Spotify too.
Oh wow! Okay.
They weren't necessarily musicians and didn't do it professionally, but there was enough of an appreciation and a love of music that we were exposed to it, and my brother being the older brother, he learned piano and I learned the drums. The two sisters sang. Sometimes we did an ABBA show. We used to have costume changes and everything. So, and we were and we cut our teeth on quite interesting tunes. Like, so when you did a ball, you would have to do dinner music. You played every 20 minutes. You were playing. You did it dinner music while they're eating. Or first of all, entrance music. It's kind of like this. And then there was dinner music, and then there was in between the first course and second course, they might have a little dance. So it was like you'd have to do some cha-chas and rumbas and sambas, and beguines and everything. And then they had the meals. And then after the meal, there was the dance set, and there was the rock set, or just, stuff that they liked. Then there was, if it was a barn dance vibe, they would do, everyone would be in a circle and you'd swap partners. It was speed dating in its raw form.
Yeah.
Just move on, and you get to meet people. And that was the barn dance, they call that. And you'd had foxtrots and everything. And then dessert would come and you'd play, a couple more tunes, and then it's been laid back when people would kind of, go. And so you'd be playing all these different tunes and modern tunes and Elvis Presley and whatever it was, hence the ABBA show. That was part of the show when that was big. So it was great from a drumming perspective to kind of be exposed to all that stuff. And also as a drummer, observing what works and what doesn't work. So when I finally went to the front of the stage, I kind of had an idea of like, this is the state of play.
Did you have someone like as the drummer, and the cha-chas and the foxtrots and all those different beats and stuff that you're having to play? Did you have somebody there telling you how to play them, or was it just like, I'm listening, I kind of hear it, I think it might go like this, or were you sort of would you then take?
I played by ear.
By ear, yep.
And I played, my technique was all wrong. Mm-hmm. I was actually holding the drumstick, instead of like playing traditional grip where you hold it like this.
Yep.
I was playing like this.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right, and then my first lesson.
People that audio podcast.
Normally it should be like that.
Yeah. So right, the palm up, you're playing traditional grip.
I was playing traditional, but palm down.
Palm down. Yeah.
Right. And so my first lesson when I was 14 or 13 was like, you need to do that.
Right.
What? Oh, what?
So really? Where did you get that from? Did you maybe you saw it and subconsciously thought that went the other way, or?
I mean, all I can say is that there is an argument for DNA, because I had no idea. I remember at 6 years old, I was playing a groove. I don't remember playing those grooves. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I used to play. The only thing that when the school that I went to, it was a Catholic primary school. Mm. Every Monday morning they used to have a assembly, and there used to be a band, snare drum, kettle drums, bigger kettle drums, bugles, baton holder, bass drum, and we would do a lap of the assembly with all the children in the middle. Mm. Doing a routine that we would practice every Wednesday, that we were taught by a guy called George Watson, right? And the front cover of one of the pictures in the book is dedicated to George Watson's. The picture's called George Watson Fan Club. It's that picture there. Can you see it down there?
I can see that. Yep.
And that's in the book.
Yep.
And that's also this is kind of what I'm trying to do at the moment. Is I'm trying to sell that stuff, online. Just, you can buy my prints and everything, but I kind of don't know how to do it. So that's the stuff that does my head in, because I'm not a good salesman, and I don't really know that world. I'm sure there's an e-commerce thing, so I'm trying to find people that are kind of helping with that at the moment.
Great.
But getting to George Watson, used to teach us that routine. And so I think from that, and I was doing that when I was 6 years old. So possibly that was an inherent sense of what rhythm is, because it was you were using the marching drum, and you know that's kind of the only thing I could think of, because I didn't have a lesson until I was 13 or 14, and I'd already been playing 6 years.
Yep. Were you aware of any other drummers, so outside influence drummers, and from records and that kind of stuff?
Yep. Gene Krupa,
okay,
which was early days.
Yep.
Only because people put me on. Older fellas would say, "Oh, you need to listen to Gene Krupa."
That's it. It was either Gene Krupa or Buddy Rich, wasn't it?
Buddy Rich, exactly. Yeah. Then there was. I got into funk a lot. Like my brother used to listen to Stevie Wonder, so. And when I was growing up, Jeff Beck, so I think it was Richard Bailey, Harvey Mason,
yep.
Billy Cobham
yep.
was an early, but I was more so for his prowess, because you couldn't really adapt what he was doing to what I was doing.
Gotcha.
But it was like, lots of skill. And then the real big turnaround for me was discovering reggae.
Okay.
Yeah, reggae and funk really were like, James Brown and Clyde Stubblefield and Carlton Barrett from the Wailers, and when I kind of really studied them properly, but that was when I was like 14, 15. That was a real kind of like, wow, I love that stuff. And then Stuart Copeland, so yeah.
Yeah.
It was a probably having music all around and just it seeping in, but I don't know, and I often think about that, where, so in many ways I feel like it is a bit of a gift, and so I don't want to waste it. That's one of them. Don't waste a minute.
Which, for people that don't know, that's one of the songs off the album.
Yeah, I feel
don't
obliged.
Waste a minute.
Exactly.
See, I've been listening.
Yeah. So I feel like it's my. I want to do the best work I can, and there is a bit of a thing of like, the older you get, the better that you want to have your creations be, and so.
I understand. Yeah.
And I don't just kind of go, I can play drums, so I can kind of do anything. I do explore, and I love learning.
Yeah, that's cool. So from drums, you just touched on it earlier, how you learned all those grooves and stuff, and then now you move to the front, and you're the front man of your bands now, and that kind of thing. So how did that step come about? Was it like a case of you being in bands and seeing people up there, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I can do this, or maybe not, I could do it better, but I reckon I could do that, or is it something that was always there that you wanted to get up the front?
As far as getting up the front, I was asked this recently, and I forgot that when I was about 10 years old, there used to be a Chuck Berry song called My Ding-a-Ling, right? And it was a double entendre. He was talking about Little Bell, but it's actually talking about his penis. So, and I got it, and I knew it was a bit funny. And so when we used to do those Maltese dances, they used to have a huge lead, and I used to go and sing the song, sitting on ladies' laps, going around the actual dance floor to 400 people and everything, like doing a floor show.
Yeah, awesome.
But I was not self-conscious about it and everything. I think, this is what I have to do. Okay, whatever, Yeah. So, and I don't remember flinching at it. I thought, okay, it didn't even think twice. I suppose I was young enough not to be so self-conscious. And that was it up until I was about 16 years old, and I was 16. I realised, look, I want to start writing songs. I want to learn another instrument apart from drums. It was either going to be keyboards or guitar. And I thought, what's the most portable? Because I can imagine that. I used to love camping, coming to the hills, and I wanted something portable. So, guitar. So I grabbed the guitar and I just taught myself, and just kept dabbling, and then started getting into a bit of recording with 4 tracks, and then just really kind of slowly made my way into that world of, I capture something. What's that chord? Whatever. And I got probably up until the point of between 16 and 19, it was just writing songs and dabbling on the guitar. But you get to a point of proficiency where you can belt it out. You can kind of go, okay, I can do something here. And then when I got into reggae, which was chuck, 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 rhythm and chord, that was all I had to do. Just learn, I still don't really know the notes of the guitar, but I just know that note. I like that note. I like that progression. I like that inversion. I'm just doing that. What is it? The E7/6 with it? I don't care. Whatever it is, it looks like this. It looks like the little man walking up the stairs with his finger down the bottom of the hill.
Just copy my fingers. Don't ask me what it is. Just copy me.
Exactly right. I mean, there's a classic shape. I still don't know what it's called. It's this shape here, which is. I just call it the arrow shape because it's the arrow pointing that way. Just by moving the fingers around.
That's almost like it's almost a major 7 from what I'm.
Over here.
Yeah, the arrow. That's.
But then drop the string.
Right.
And then.
Cool,
So I like spending hours just
doing that,
making mistakes, basically.
Awesome.
and so that's my modus operandi. I had one guitar lesson once, and it was about scales and everything, and I went, no, I need to just I'll go back to just exploring. I had proper drum lessons when I was from the age of 14 to 18 or something, from a couple of different drum teachers. I just was mainly technique and rudiments and just, skill, but I do most of it, all of it by ear.
Yeah.
Like when I'm playing, doing the keyboard, for example, I'll put sticky tape on the notes not to play.
Gotcha.
Right? So I'll work it out. Okay, that doesn't sound good. Okay, that could work. Yeah, that could work depending if I was in that chord. Yeah. And I still do that now.
Is that if you're working on a particular part?
No, like for instance, what song? Home, for example, like the solo,
Yep.
So I just made sure that don't play that note, and I
tape them up. That's awesome.
But whatever I played or a little mark on it, that you just you know that you're on the right thing, because I don't know if a G has one flat or C. I mean, when we do the gigs with Bustmento, some of the guys are going, one flat, so I'm going, just like F or G. I don't know.
Just tell me what finger to take off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I got to the point of then I was playing drums with Ross Hannaford. God love him. He was my real guitar guru, and he couldn't make it. And I learned enough songs on the guitar, enough reggae tunes, fairly simple, 2 chord things, 3 chords. That I said I could probably do I know how to sing. I could probably do a set. And I'd already played bass and sang in a band as well. So I'd already done a bit of that and dabbled with that. So I was pretty cool with being on stage, confronting an audience. But the guitar was a bit of a different thing. And then we had the first gig and we got asked to play other gigs from that first gig and went, well, I must be doing something right, and then loving reggae and then writing songs in that format, then starting the band, Overtones, then Bomba, and it was just, just that. But lots of mistakes on the way, and still to this point, to this day, if I can solo, but I'll need just a minute just to kind of go.
You need a minute to tape the strings up, tape the frets up.
It's just make a mental memory of
Yeah, gotcha.
But
Yeah.
there's a jazz, I forgot who it was. He said, "You're only a semitone away from the right."
Yeah, that's it. Eh? Oh man.
So just bend. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What was your first band experience away from, that Maltese community band? Something outside of that.
Well, as the Maltese band was happening, we were getting into, which was like, Elvis Presley and, ABBA and all type of thing.
Yep.
We were getting into Jeff Beck,
Okay.
into Steely Dan,
Right.
into the Crusaders, Doobie Brothers, songs like Cocaine, which we couldn't play, those other things. So we built up a set, and the first gig I ever did with the band doing those numbers was in this valley about 15 minutes down the road when I was 14, right? It's a place called Harrietville, Snowline Hotel. So that was kind of like, okay. And then it got hard at some point. We were rehearsing those songs and, my dad got quite angry that we were actually, and then we like at some point we tried Living for the City, which is a Stevie Wonder song, Up by his barn in the Maltese gig. Right. And it was like, it's like, nah, like it's so you had to really separate the two.
Yeah, gotcha.
So eventually that kind of took over and we started, it was the cover band time. So you could play 5 nights a week around Melbourne and do a 6-month tour playing 5 nights a week in a venue doing covers. And so when I was 16, I was about to do year 11. So I did my first tour for 4 months. I was doing year 11 by correspondence. I lost my virginity. I smoked dope for the first time. I wrote my first song, and while we were on the road, a friend of ours someone we befriended died of a heroin overdose, and we befriended some drag queens in Rockhampton.
Fuck, that's a hell of a tour.
Right. And so it would be 5 weeks at the Grosvenor Hotel in Rockhampton, playing 5 nights a week.
Yeah. And
if a touring band came through, we'd be the support.
Yep.
6 weeks in Cairns, 3 weeks in Mackay, 2 weeks in Newcastle, and then a snow gig on the way back. And that was the first tour. And from there, that was when I got my first, paycheck, wrote my first song. And then it really was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
Finished the year, finished school and everything. And I remember school finished for me when we were in Cairns, and I was, doing the exam and everything. And they said, we need someone for the to make the teams even in the volleyball in the pool. And I looked at my studies and I went, school's over. And that was it. That was my last, haven't really, and I've been making a living from music ever since. So I've done a couple of odd jobs to supplement when I had the family, when the kids were growing up, worked at a newspaper one day a week, and I had a sprinkler system, started a little business installing sprinkler systems, but there's mainly music, and then once I learned how to record, and I set up my studio, that was my main bread and butter. I'd be recording singer-songwriters 4 days a week, and because everybody wants to be a star, but you still got to record them, and I kind of learnt that quickly. So,
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you got any regrets of not finishing your studies?
No, because I'm still learning.
Cool.
I'm an eternal student.
Yep.
I'm just on a different university degree. Like right now, I'm on a university degree about loops and looper stations and looper pedals and SPDX, and it kind of does my head in a little bit because I know that I could just have an acoustic guitar and a percussionist, and I can smash an evening. I can do it now, So, but there's a new album out. I want to be able to have some kind of reference to, and so I've already done a tour with my brother who plays keyboard, bass, and keys. I was instead of being on the guitar, I'm on a drum kit up the front.
Right. Okay. That's
so I've come full circle with this tour.
Yeah. Right.
And that's why I'm kind of concentrating on drums a bit more. It's more drum based. It's more like we gave away a drum kit as part of the promotion. So, so when I'm touring, I'm on the kit, the microphone up the front, keyboard, guitarist, and percussionist. And that's the band, and we can play everything on the album.
Yep.
right? But that tour fell apart in COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost money on it, and so so it's the landscape of touring at the moment is not great. So the way to go around it is to consolidate and downsize.
Yep.
So at first, I want to be able to do a show with myself and the looper, using elements of the album on the looper, but doing some stuff live and being able to drop stuff in and out. So I'm learning how. I've just got a foot pedal today that can operate and today the RC505 Mark II just rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been using the normal 505, which I love. I've written so many songs on that. If not, half the album is written on the 505.
Great.
But I also don't want to be kind of going like that all the time. So I've got a MIDI foot pedal now, the Nectar, which is going to operate that. And it's not still in the box.
Yeah.
So that's part of my university degree
gotcha.
type of thing, you know. So I want to be able to do that. And then I've got another musician, a magnificent musician called Don, because I can't really take my brother on the road at the moment because of his anti-vax stance. Okay. So that's the thing. So which is a pity, you know, because it would be a lot easier just to go, hey, we're just learning more songs.
Yep.
So now I have to kind of, you know, which is, you know, that's his choice and that's fine.
Sure.
And so there's a musician that I've been working with a long time called Dorian West, who was a musical director for,
yep.
You know, amazing.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yep.
Yeah. So he's coming on board. It's going to be me and him and possibly one percussionist.
Cool.
So, but first I want to do my homework with the looper.
Yeah.
Because then I can say, let's still use a loop, but let's just do the percussion section or use the bass line from the loop and everything. And you play guitar and you play percussion. I'll still on the kit and everything, and we can still kind of make it work that way. Or let's just see what it sounds like as a trio.
Yeah.
Because the percussionists can also play drums.
Yeah.
So you get on the drum kit, I'll get on the guitar,
yep.
You're on the bass. Let's see what that sounds like.
Yep.
You know, and so I need to work out what that is, and that's where the idea is getting that happening before the tour starts, supposedly in May. Like on March the 5th, I'm supposed to be supporting John Butler with the Palais.
Yep.
So that's my, you know, and. You know, regardless, whatever I'll do, I'll get something together because I'll always, you know, you're only on stage for, you know, 45 minutes when you're supporting. So
okay.
I can entertain people for 45 minutes, even if I could do this show that I do now and doing one or two from the new album, it'll be okay.
Great.
So my major frustration is that I keep telling myself you don't have time. I'm going, I got time. Just leave me alone, will you? You know, you know. And so if I'm, you know, like yesterday I was painting and I'm thinking, fuck, I should be, you know. I said, no, it's okay. You know, you're gonna cram course it in the last 2 weeks. You're gonna be okay. You know, and I know I will. And that's so I don't know that anxiety, if you like, is something that I'm actually dealing with. You know. Personally at the moment, just trying to work out where that's coming from, you know, and you know, just 2 days ago, it's like I got to get out, and I went out for a big bike ride, and got out in nature, and I felt heaps better afterwards.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You can, you know, talk things through and do that. You know,
I know exactly what you're going through there because that's kind of me at the moment. I've got so much going on, and there might be something coming up, and then I think to myself, now I've got to do some work on it now. And so I'll start working on it now. No, I've got something else on tomorrow that I haven't touched yet. And it's like, oh, shit, maybe I'll leave that and focus on the thing that I've got happening tomorrow. You know?
Well, the hard thing about being self-employed and being your own producer and your own thing is that you have to learn how to discipline. You have to actually, you know, get a little bit of routine happening, you know. And like my partner who's just recently moved in, you know, we're talking exactly about that, you know, like in order to try to get the balance right, you know, the discipline and the routine was actually the thing that's going to give you freedom because weeks coming around really quickly. Like, you know, it's like, oh, it's Wednesday again. Great. You know, So, but generally, you know, if you strip it all back, and this is the song, Why Worry? That's what Worry is about, is that I'm really, you know, ecstatic to be alive, you know, and then for the probability of me existing on this planet and, you know, the way that the planet exists and where we are in the galaxy and everything's like pretty fucking mind-blowing that we're doing this right now, you know. So I try to tap into that more than often, ceremonies, being still, and just realizing that, and hence the name of the album, that I'm always going to have food and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, that's all they have.
Mm-hmm.
And they're extremely happy. So the trimmings and all the things you see and everything, it's like, that's not going to make me record the song. That's not going to make me create the thing. At the essence, I could have a guitar, and I can make a group of people smile and feel better about the moment, and incite them into some kind of positivity or dancing or something, and that's my job. And so that's an important ancient ritual that's been there. And I realized that if I've just got food and shelter and providing the service of being the village musician, then that's where it starts. And I can always come back to that. And I always have that. And as long as I don't lose sight of that, then everything else is fun on top.
Yeah.
And you don't get too kind of hung up about it.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm doing that at the moment. I have a beautiful place to live, a gorgeous partner, and someone that understands me, and I was married for 18 years and divorced, and lots of relationships trying to find, and to the point where I was just like, I know who I am, and I'm actually going to live the single life knowing that this is what I need.
Yep.
And if I meet somebody that's compatible with that, fantastic. If not, fantastic.
Great.
And so and I'm at that point at the moment. I feel kind of blessed to be at that point, but still getting to the essence of what am I contributing to society? What is my, again, I've started a record label called Transmitter, and it's about, we're all transmitters.
Yeah.
We're all sending out frequencies, and we're all receiving frequencies. And so what's my transmission? What's my frequency? What do I want you to receive from me? So you have to understand what is your transmission in the first place. And so if you get that right, and your transmission on a daily basis and on a momentary basis is quite kind of joyful and pure, because you've kind of worked out your shit.
Yeah.
But we're constantly working out your shit because you're constantly weeding.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I could talk for hours about that type of thing, and that's not what my songs are about, It's about
what you're talking about there, that's Changeals, isn't it? That's your song, Changeals?
Well, Changeals is actually, that's so multifaceted, that one. But the essence is that when you go through changes, like life to death, breaking up of a relationship, moving out of home, what you consider to be a disappointment, a loss, a gain, or whatever, when you go through these changes, there are, for me, spirits or entities or angels, if you like, that help you through the change. So the angels of change. Yeah. Changes, right? So, and it's a bit like, it's about your philosophy. It's about like these changes kind of buffer it, or help you process it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, very much so but I also see them as, like people that have passed away that have been very close to me, that they're going, it's okay. This will pass. It's okay. You can cry. It's okay. There will be something. There will be something. That this is part of an adventure, part of a process of life that will get you to that.
Yeah.
And then that.
Yeah.
And it might seem like that, but it's actually not. It's just, you've just this realization. And there's some things that, like the passing away of my father, for example, that was, he was my changel.
Okay.
It was, I really felt him while he was passing, that he was there going, it's cool, And I also have this philosophy that we're all eternal energies. Our energies always exist, but at the moment we're just having a human experience.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, so to be aware of the fact that we're just aware, and to be more aware and conscious of this life that we're living, and fucking have fun, man.
Yeah.
Let's just don't take things that when I speak to people that have passed that are on their deathbed or that know that they're dying, the general conversation it leads to is that don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times, is that I shouldn't have spent so much time worrying about that when, in this things like it'll turn out, it was okay. So not sweating the small stuff means, again, it's don't micromanage yourself too much.
Gotcha.
All that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm all over that. I'm all over don't sweat the small stuff. But I mean, you probably know of that book and the podcast or audio book of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I
don't actually.
Oh, you don't? Okay. I remember listening to it. Yeah, I listened to it. That's right. My wife's got the book, but I listened to it. And there's this one. It's at the start of the audio book, and he's talking about. He gets in his car and he's driving to work, and he gets on the freeway, and there's this guy in a car next to him, and he's freaking out. He's trying to cut in the traffic. He's beeping his horn. He's all stressed, zipping. Then he sort of disappears up the freeway, and the storyteller is still in his car. He's really relaxed, just doing his thing. Gets about 10 minutes up the trip. Next thing you know, he's pulled up alongside the dude and the angry guy in the car. He's still stressing out, still beeping, still indicating, trying to get out. Yep, and then
great analogy.
Yep, and then they 20, 30 minutes later, they pull up to a similar destination and they get there about the same time.
Yeah,
right.
No, totally. I mean, that's the essence of anxiety.
For sure.
I was that guy.
Me too. Yeah.
I was that driver.
Same with me.
Yeah. And I used to actually lean forward closer to the steering wheel, thinking I'd get there quicker. Literally, my whole body was going,
Yeah.
And I nearly had.
Did you used to duck under the bridge? You go under a bridge and you duck.
It's funny, because that, and I use that analogy a lot because it does give a physical representation of what's in your mind.
For sure.
That type of thing. And I nearly had a car accident, which involved that sense of anxiety and jealousy. And the car spun and everything, and I got out of the car, and in that instance I was so amazed at the power that the jealousy had over me, and that how they're fueled with the anxiety, that I vowed to squash them, and to the point that now I and I don't know how it happened or what it is, but people find it even hard to live with me because of it. I have no jealousy. It twisted. The wires completely went backwards.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment very well. I was just like so amazed that emotion manifested itself in so much physical angst and the type of thing that I was able to somehow wisely step back and observe myself and go, my God, not doing that again. That was like,
can you expand on the jealousy part of that and how that got to do with the? You don't have to go into details, but
yeah, it to do with it was something to do with my fiance at the time, who ended up being my wife for 18 years, and some information that wasn't given to me and whatever.
Okay,
It made me. Yeah, there was someone was hiding something from me, and I allowed it to manifest itself. But were you talking more about that, or
so that made you angry and drive fast? Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Right.
Exactly. That's and it was very much part of how I was. So it was the anxiety and the jealousy kind of fueled together to nearly kill me.
Yeah, right. Okay, I understand.
And that struggle and that conversation has informed probably 50 to 60% of the lyrics of my songs all my life, about the recognition, the solution, or the problem, the recognition of the problem, and the solution, and then the adaptation of that solution. So it's not just like, oh yeah, it'll be okay. You have to tear the shit apart.
Yeah.
You have to, that type of thing. And that's where the journals come in for me too. Like, I don't write as much as I used to, but if I'm going through a process, and I tell my children, I tell, even in workshops and everything, that type of thing, is that write that shit down.
Yeah.
Get it out of your head.
Yeah.
Because the mind is capable of holding an orchestra of an encyclopedia of concepts and ideas.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, the mind, So, but it's also like a ramshackle train on the loose. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's cool. Where were we going? Like,
I don't know. I like these tangents.
Yeah, me too. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I suppose we were talking about.
We're talking about See, and then like earlier on, there's one of my favorite little parts of your album, and I think it's on Changeless too. And you go, transmission time.
So what I'm doing is I'm emulating a delay unit when you turn it down. It goes time.
Yeah.
So you've done it often enough to know what happens.
I was going to drop that in there, so I was looking for a spot while you were talking in a pause. I was going to drop it in there. Transmission time.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. It's that song is kind of just to trust that you kind of will be okay. That when change is actually quite a beautiful thing. When we exist because of change. If the earth was as it was, a million years ago, we wouldn't be here. If we are constantly in the process of change and evolution, and I mean, even in a physical perspective, like I have this thing that where our I'm going off a tangent.
It's all good, man.
Our family very much about the stature is the heads down a little bit, and it's kind of like just the way we walk, the way the Maltese kind of walk a little bit, head down, and everything. And so for the last 2 years, I've been doing this complete opposite of that, and actually trying to change the curvature of my spine. So I'm doing my exercise every day where I'm just leaning back as much as I can. And so the new equilibrium is there.
Gotcha.
It's not there anymore.
Gotcha.
It's there. And I do that on a daily basis. And to the point that when I do that and come to here, it's much changed, but it feels a little bit orgasmic. It's like my body's evolving into a new position that actually feels where I should be, and I perceive the world in a more confident, positive, active, smiling way as opposed to that. And I'm totally aware of that, and to the point that I often joke with people that eventually we're going to evolve, that we're just going to be looking at the sky to the time.
We'll all be lying down. We'll all be on our backs.
No, we'll be walking like this, like the
Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Well, my favorite sensation is like physical sensation is lying floating in a pool on a starry night, looking at the heavens. But I'm not actually lying down. I'm actually floating.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's as though if I'm on the curvature of the earth, I'm facing out into space, not walking with my head up here type of thing. I'm not doing that. I'm actually, and so that sense of space, when I remember the first time I did it, was like, whoa, song. It's just like, wow, you know, there's something, yeah. And I still can't, you know, the fact that I'm alive is, the older I get, the more in tune to that I get.
That's cool, man. That posture thing. Do you, when you play drums, have you always sort of slouched over when you play? And with that in mind now, that whole, have you tried to play a little bit more straight backed? And have you noticed the change? Not so much in your playing, but like you were talking there about how that made you feel to be.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of it is to do, and funnily enough, is with seat height.
Yep.
For a start,
yep.
Right? Because the higher you are, you tend to, that type of thing.
Yep.
And I'm kindly always playing with that. And I realise that certain times when I want to play a certain way, I'll do the Remy from Stone Roses, do the do that. But generally, I'm trying to do that because I was singing as well.
Okay.
So the diaphragm has to be as open as possible, because if you're singing like that, it's not great. So I'm trying to go, and I adjust the microphone so I make sure that I'm there, right? So that's my cue. So if I'm doing that, if I need to sing, I have to do that. So I've learnt to do that.
Yeah.
You know. So, but for many years, I was a bit of a croucher. I was, that type of thing. But and I just do it for effect now, just to kind of, like if I'm doing a Gene Krupa solo, I'll go, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's how you got to play that, eh?
Yeah. So, and the physicality of drums too is such a physical instrument. You know. It's I think also I find a lot of drummers are kind of active people. You know, they kind of, they're always kind of nervy and kind of doing it. You know, people can't sit across the road from me because like the tables. What's that? Oh, speaking.
Yeah, I quite often, my wife will lean over in the middle of the night and give me a whack because my toes are, I can't stop moving my toes. My toes are always just moving. Like if I'm awake, or even if I'm half asleep or whatever, I might have a groove or a song in my head, and my feet are just going against the
totally,
whack.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, the toes are clicking.
make sure she whacks you in time. Though.
That's exactly right, eh?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. You're a bit late then.
Oh, speaking of time.
Yeah, it's running away, isn't it?
No, that's cool. But one of your songs, "Rise of the New Shango."
Yeah.
Right. Can you explain to me the time signature of the, or the phrasing of?
Yeah, I'll show you. It's funny because
hang on. Can we play it just so the audience can hear?
I'll get the ukulele bass because I wrote it on that.
Okay, cool. So let me just play the song off the part of the song off the album, and people will hear what I heard. Okay, here we go.
This is in 4.
It's in 4. Yep. Ah, 6. Okay, gotcha.
That's it.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
And if you want to play it, it's so simple.
Yep.
It's bass guitar, first 3 strings. Right. Now you're going. I do a tapping technique. Right.
Yep.
It's just so you go. That's the first one.
Gotcha.
Okay. And now I'm just going down the hill.
Okay.
Second part, I'm just going up the hill.
Yeah, gotcha.
Next string.
Cool, man.
And that's it. And then the chorus.
Rise the new Shango. Yeah, yep.
That's the song.
Cool,
That's
man.
it. 2 parts.
I've tried many times to try and count it out and find the one, and then of course that little chorus or pre-chorus break.
Yeah.
It's 4, and it brings me back, and then I'm lost again.
Yeah. But the only reason it's 6 is because of that pattern, is which is very Middle Eastern.
Okay. Yeah. Cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. One thing I want to ask you about is back when you're playing with John Butler, and John Butler's your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you were part of the band when a couple of those albums hit a fair bit of commercial success. Now, what was that like? What was that? Did you have any idea that was going to happen? All of a sudden, it's a big deal.
Well, it was like this.
Was it humbling?
I had my band called Bomba.
Yep.
Funk reggae outfit.
Yep.
I think we had an album out at the time, and I was also playing with a band called Double Dub. Now, then he started going out with my sister, and I'd heard of John, but not a lot. And then he came and saw me play. He saw me play with Double Dub, and because I was playing drums with Double Dub, and guitar with and he knew that I was heavily into reggae, went to Jamaica and everything, so he knew that was, and he was starting to get into reggae.
Yep.
And he'd just released 3. He was kind of, things were kind of happening a little bit. There was a bit of a buzz about him, right? And so that type of thing. Then, and he had a bit of a trio happening, but he wanted to explore stuff. He wanted to kind of just be ignited, I suppose, and try something different. So he approached me and said, "Just have a jam, so just have a little jam." He said, "Because I'm messing around with this, just getting into Bob Marley and getting he was living in Byron at the time, and the Bomba thing was going pretty good." Then he said, "And I'm looking for a new bass player," So, and I just happened to be playing this one gig that I did with a band called, I think it was Descarga, a Latin band. We had one gig and we had one rehearsal.
Right.
And that rehearsal was Shannon Birchall was playing.
Right.
And he had a necklace that was like my spiral.
Right.
And he played pretty well. And I thought, listen, I'm looking for bass players for John at the moment. We're just, do you want to be interested in having a bit of a jam, right? So we had a jam, and we liked it. John liked kind of a bit of a vibe. So I was on drums, Shannon was on double bass, John on guitar, and I was also working with Joe Camilleri. We had set up an album label. He was, he's like my brother.
Yep.
And he had Woodstock Studios, and he this very desk.
Oh, right, okay.
Woodstock, yeah.
Right.
So we kind of hooked up the family together, and we started rehearsing to record an album. And the key track was Zebra, which was the song that was the flagship song.
Yep.
And that was it was called Zebra because it was like Zeppelin.
Yep.
And Radga, Zebra.
Ah, cool.
And then it became Zebra.
Right.
And so it was a combination of rock and reggae in that not like the Police used to do it, but more with the sliding guitars and different vibe.
Yep.
And I didn't know that. I knew that was the of all the songs that seemed to have something good about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing the first kind of mix, and I thought it all sounds a bit lame, to be honest. So it needs to be. You need some kind of juice. I don't know, like remastered or something. And I just remember thinking I thought it sounded better in the studio than what I'm hearing just on the CD, you know. So, and I made those comments, but released Zebra, went through the roof, and pretty much John's career from there kind of went. But I was playing with Bomba at the time, so I couldn't tour with him. So we recorded Sunrise Over Sea together,
right?
But then I found him Michael Barker as a drummer.
Right. Gotcha.
So then they toured the world.
Yep.
And I was kind of glad I didn't do it then, because it was the first time they toured. And when I ended up touring with the band, the band was more established, and it was the type of touring that I wanted to do. Because, there's a whole thing about if you're working for somebody else, at the end of the day, I'm a songwriter too. And I knew at some point that, you know, that you're going to miss your songs. You're going to miss doing your own thing. You've got your boat sitting over there and you're on somebody else's boat.
Gotcha.
But John being my brother-in-law and everything, it was, you know, so I couldn't do that album. Then they consequently recorded another album, I think Grand National. Then John, you know, had a thing. He wanted to change again. He wanted to, he needed to, he's constantly exploring. And he called me up again. And we started jamming. And we found another bass player, and we recorded April Uprising. And then we recorded and toured the world.
Okay. Are you on that tour? You got on that tour?
I toured for 5 years with him.
Okay.
Then we recorded Flesh and Blood.
Yep.
And I kept touring a bit with them. But I pretty much from 2008 to 2013.
Yep.
So we played songs off Sunrise Over Sea as well.
Right, of course.
So I was, you know, 2009, 2013, I was a fully fledged member of the John Butler Trio.
Right.
Toured the world, did all the ARIA awards, you know, did the photography and the press, and I loved it, because I wanted to. One of my things to do as a musician was to tour the world playing drums, but not having to set up the drums and the type of thing. Like I'm just walking and play on that high level. You know, we played Madison Square Garden. You know, we played Red Rocks. You know, so and so I'm totally honoured. You know, but I got to a point where I was really missing my own songs.
You missed the boat, man. You're missing your boat.
Yeah, you know, and so and I started the Melbourne Ska Orchestra.
Okay.
And we played it at the Metro, and it was huge. It was jam packed. And John was at that gig, and he said, I know how you've been feeling, and that type of thing. He said it's probably, you know, a good time to follow that, you know, to strike while the iron's hot, go with that, catch a fire, you know. Though, you know, the orchestra wasn't a thing where the trajectory was like it went to being a, you know, things are always constantly changing and everything, you know. But I needed to get back on my boat, whatever that boat was. You know, and but having said that, in 2 weeks' time, John's coming here for the first time. We're going to start bashing it together again.
Wow, that's cool, man.
So you know, and he's in the solo world now, because you know, touring with a trio is costly and all over the place, and there's people on retainers, and if some fucks up, you're still going to pay.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, I'm doing that with all. I've got, you know, the Melbourne Ska Orchestra and my Bustmento, and I've got 4 bands kind of on the go.
Yeah.
But if something cancels and they're booked, they have to be paid. If you know, I don't like, or if we do a gig and nobody turns up, they still got to get paid. You know, and my biggest frustration in life is ticket sales at the moment. It's just like it does my fucking head in.
Yeah,
you know?
we were talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Before we
and
went on there.
That is actually my. If there's any anxiety, it's around that, because I don't. There's a lot of things involved with that where I don't do social media. Yeah. I can't do it myself. I actually don't have the head for it, and I
so you have somebody does your social media?
I have to.
I was gonna. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you later.
Yeah. You need to build. You need to have a team around you, because I physically don't have the time and the appetite that beast needs to be present. Yeah. But it's an essential part of the world. in many ways, if I'm putting on a gig, it used to cost me a lot more to put on a gig because it was $3,000 just for the fucking posters, and then you had to advertise in Beat magazine, and if nobody turned up, you still owed that money. Whereas social media and Facebook and Instagram have made it easier, but there's so much information out there that you have to have the right people to kind of do it for you. You know, like, and if they don't do it early enough, you know, you miss out on.
That's it, eh?
You know? And so that's what's happening at the moment. That's why we put the tour so far ahead, so we would have all this lead-up time. But now the lead-up time's been smashed and battered because of COVID, that people are scared to buy tickets. And I'm saying, blow the tour out, because I don't want that stress. You know, I prefer to stay home and write songs and do this type of thing and play local gigs than having to put on a tour that requires flights and accommodation and ground transport and social media and that type of thing. And if no one turns up, you know, if it's solo, it's okay. If it's solo and one person, I can wear it. And that's the state of play at the moment. It's like the new Shangos could be fucking anything. It's Nicky Bomba and the new Shangos, but it could be members of the audience say, "Come on, play some drums for me, will you?"
Well, I actually read something today, and I made a note of that. You wrote, well, you said something in an interview. He goes, "I'm encouraging budding drummers to learn some grooves, so I can get them up to join me. Could be fun, could also be dangerous."
Exactly.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
That's exactly right. And that's kind of what when I say. When originally it was Nicky Bomba and the New Shangos, which is the band that I had. But now the New Shangos is like, fuck it, I can't afford to take that band on the tour. I don't know. So the New Shangos could be fucking anything. And it's kind of, I had a problem with that, saying people are going to expect the band. And I'll say, I'll make it look like a band. I'll get some members of the audience up. They can just play some percussion and we're there.
So there's a lot of drummers listen to this podcast, and
well, I mean, and I'm serious about that. I will in my shows, I'm definitely going to be saying, are there any drummers in the audience? And I'm saying, you know, you've done gigs, you know, you've been paid to play drums. You know, it doesn't matter how much, but and then of those hands, I'll say, okay, you, and you. Awesome, right? But if it'll be the joke of saying, how much did you get paid?
Exposure. This is for
playing too well.
Yeah, you're doing this for exposure. Exactly. This is an exposure gig.
So there's lots of different, you know, and I love playing with an audience with that. You know, that's where the gold is really, when you can have fun with an audience. Yeah, that's cool. Now I won't keep you too much longer, but one thing. Just going back to the Melbourne Ska Orchestra, and how many piece band is that? Is it 30? Okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's playing in Melbourne where there's no flights, it's usually close to 30. Okay, right. So if it's interstate, it's usually 23, 24. Yeah, you talk about the stress of having, your band looked after and that kind of thing. When you're managing 30 people now. How do you do that? Do you have? Well, I don't go on the road unless I know that there's a guarantee. Okay. Unless sometimes we'll put on a tour, and if we're doing a tour, I'll have a buffer of money beforehand that I would have earned to put aside, that if something falls apart, they're still going to get paid. I'll make that commitment. But generally, we get paid a lump sum, like to play Blues Fest or to play WOMAD. So I know exactly what I'm getting. Yep. I know exactly, and regardless of what happened, I don't have to do tickets for that. So from a financial perspective, that anxiety is gone. From an organisational perspective, I have a team. I have someone, a tour manager, that we have a travel agent that takes care of the flights. We have who also finds the accommodation. I have a tour manager that sends out the invites and finds out who's available, not available. Right. Gotcha. We're down, like it just only happened last week. We're down a baritone player for the Melbourne gig, and so we had to get someone brand new. Thankfully, we've got charts. So I learned the charts. She did a great job. Bang, end the story. Cool. Yeah. Right. That answers that, because I'm thinking. Well, I mean, it's like a soccer team. It's like a soccer team. Yeah. Exactly it. And there's 40 people in the team. Yeah. But only 22 can play this week. Yeah. Gotcha. Nicky Bomba, you've got have you got a link tree that I can put in the show notes there? And
you need to talk.
I'll talk to you. Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll the email you sent me. I think there's on my Instagram there is a link tree because it's funny.
Okay. Yep. All right.
It's funny you mentioned that because I went on my Instagram and it says press the link and I said it didn't go anywhere. And I said you got to press the link tree. I said what's that? And I said people know. You don't know.
People,
but people
doesn't
know
matter.
What to do.
That's right.
They know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm a Luddite when it comes to that. But but having said that, I've also, the phone is also a rabbit hole.
I know what you're saying. A distraction. Yeah.
And I've only recently disciplined myself to, the scrolling thing, the reels and all that type of thing is so addictive.
Yeah, it is.
And I realise that it taps into some kind of part of humanity that keeps you there.
Yep.
So I've just limited to that. I do enjoy the humour. So I give myself 10 minutes of that.
Oh, cool.
And with a timer, and then I have to switch it off.
Yep.
I don't have Facebook on my phone at all because that was another. I only use it for. There's a thing called. I live in a place called Bright. Thing called Recycle in Bright.
Yeah.
And because I love buying secondhand shit.
Yep.
And I'll go on that on the computer, but not on the phone.
Ah, cool.
So I've only really got Instagram. And they give me a hard time for it because they're saying, oh, you haven't posted this, haven't posted that, saying, no, it just goes through my social media lady because I actually don't have the time. And I know what my mind does, like I much prefer to look up how to fucking operate an RC505 Mark II, which I've just got.
That's awesome. So the new album, Food and Shelter, that's out on all the platforms, and can you also purchase it too? Do you have vinyl?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's vinyl.
Linktree. It's in the Linktree.
There's tea towels.
Oh, cool.
There's mugs. I've got little pencil drumsticks.
Oh, great.
With Nicky Bomba on them.
Yep.
Because people don't really buy CDs anymore. It's just and that. I mean, I should write a book about that. Where if a song was, a sticky tape, or it was a phone, or it was a pen, it would be considered a forgery. What they're doing with songs at the moment, that they grab the pen and they sell it to other people, saying, "I can give you all the pens you want."
Yeah.
Right. And so, from a songwriter perspective, you have to think outside the square of how you're going to make a living.
That's it.
And live has been the main thing lately. Now that's kind of like, so you have to go, what's going on?
Yeah.
But we adapt and we change, and necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah. Yeah. And so I've always kind of, followed that thing. And again, food and shelter. Yeah. I'm happy, like nature provides so much, and life, just how you perceive life is the secret a lot of the time, but I'm a happy soul. I'm appreciative of life itself.
Good stuff. And I appreciate you spending your evening with me, Nicky. It's been great, man. I've had a great time. Awesome. You're a good dude. Good vibes.
No worries, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Well, bless you. Keep well. And Taranaki. What's it?
Taranaki Hardcore.
Yeah, Taranaki Hardcore. Taranaki Posse. But what was the other place next to it? It was Mount Taranaki, wasn't it?
Mount Taranaki. Yep, that's the one.
And it was New. What was it? The town at the
New
bottom.
Plymouth.
New Plymouth.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And we did a gig in Hamilton with the Melbourne Ska Orchestra.
Hamilton. Yep. Love that place.
And it was such a rare, unique experience because we drove in and there was a poster, a billboard with our faces on it.
Awesome.
We saw a bus with the band on the back of the bus. It was advertised like fucking crazy. It was like we were like in LA and we just released a fucking $1 million seller, but it was Hamilton.
Yeah, awesome, man.
I'll never forget that.
That's great, man.
Good. All right, brother.
All right, bro.
Good evening.
You too, bro.
Okay, man.
All right, catch you.
Okay.
See you, bro. Bye.